That wasn't the pre-cafe one. I got pranked.
I got pranked. So I told you, I talked about this before on the show. Whenever I would have guests or somebody with me, I would oftentimes start the cafe
And then just sit
before
there.
they noticed, and just like people just like, especially I'm just evil. So especially like
Oh,
pre-show
okay.
jitters when somebody's not used to being on, they would be like just do
Right.
weird things
Mhm.
before, because it's just like you got pre-show energy.
100%.
You gotta just kinda work it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I would
Exactly.
push play, and they would be just like talking about the most random stuff. In fact, if anybody's interested in some of our oldest content on our university, SMS University, we have some old content on there. Some of them like I have bangs, but some of them are even like pre-bang Olivia, and it's crazy. And there's one but before like the whole bang hair cycle. Like I've cycled through some styles, right? I've been here long enough that I've seen generations of weird hairstyles. But there's one, I have a video of Carson when he used to shoot video for me. It was literally him. Oh, he's gonna kill me. He doesn't watch the cafe. He'll never know.
Exactly, yeah. And
It's
if
a
he
video.
does, then we know. Then +1 viewers.
I know. Then honestly, like
Worst.
shout out. But there is a video that he does that he was doing where he was actually doing. It was so old that it was actually a home health care for Kemper, and Kemper doesn't even make home health care anymore.
I think I just watched this one.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, he had the pre-show jitter weirdness, and he goes, it was some sort of thing. He's just sitting, he goes, "This is what I do. I sit on you. I sit on you." And he was just acting so kooky, and he didn't know I was recording.
Oh my goodness.
And I still to this day have a video of baby Carson. This would have been like 8-9 years ago. Baby Carson, "This is what I do. I sit on you." Welcome to the Medicare Cafe pre-chat. We will get started here in the next couple minutes. If you are watching the recorded version of this and you're just like, these people are idiots, they're chaotic, but they have good Medicare knowledge, fast forward a couple more minutes. If you're just along for the ride, then my friends, buckle up, because here we go. If you want to contact us at any point, this is my real phone number. Text me during the show, after the show. Don't text me at night because I like my sleep. But any other time, please text me, call me, beat me.
If you want to reach me.
If you want to page me, it's okay. And I'll make sure to respond to you. You're joined today. My name's Olivia Richardson.
And my name is Benjamin Lavis.
And yeah. My favorite is to mispronounce your name in the weirdest ways.
Yeah. I think the weirdest one I've ever gotten was Lavoie.
Lavoie?
Yeah. I was a history teacher too. So that was like, we weren't going to learn anything helpful from that point forward.
Well, it's kind of like a French, like the ES and the A.
Sure.
Vous a?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I don't speak French, but I'll take your word for it.
I did. I took 7 years of French and can't speak a lick of it now.
See, the worst part is I don't know if you're being truthful or not.
J'ai parlé français un peu. J'ai oublié de couler la langue. J'ai tué ma.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean,
Vino wine. Anyways, guys, we're gonna get started here in a little bit.
Where
but
are my subtitles? How was I supposed to keep up with that?
Someone help! Hey.
Oh my goodness.
Someone said, "Hey, chick." All right. I wanted to real quick something we mentioned as we were getting on here. Something I'm really, really good at.
Yeah.
Is if I should have been a lawyer. Mine is like the schooling. I love, and I think what I'm trying to say, long story short, I'm really good at gaslighting people.
Right, no, for sure.
Like
That's
if
why
you
I
think
thought this was a bit like you were good. I speak French for 7 years, and then and then I was like, oh yeah, surely that's French. And then it was gonna be like, I just gaslit you this entire time.
No, I do know some French. I have again, I took 7 years of it. I don't know. My tattoo is French. I don't know most of it.
Okay.
Anyways,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So what are we talking about today? Today we're going to kick off our Cross-Selling Symposium. I want to talk about what the Cross-Selling Symposium is, what you can expect out of the upcoming weeks of Medicare Cafe. We're going to do some AEP prep in the upcoming weeks, but we're also going to be talking about ancillary production. Why? We'll get into why here in a second. But I'm a really good gaslighter.
Yeah.
I think I didn't know this was what it was. I think that if back in the day, whenever I was had college and had boyfriends and dates and things like that, if somebody was ever mad at me for something, I was really good at being like, yes, but, and then at getting them to apologize by the end of that. I don't do that now because I've been to therapy, but I was really good at it whenever I was younger, and I recently learned that's gaslighting.
Yeah. Okay. I was the victim of a lot of gaslighting then, it turns out.
Was it, did I do it?
No, surely not.
Back in the day? Blink twice if you're in Milwaukee. Guys, we're going to go ahead and get started talking about, again, 2 ways to talk to me. One, text this number at any time. It is my real cell phone number. If you text me live. If you're just like, hey, no, it's not, Pam. If you're like, no, it's not, just text me live. Literally, it's happening right now. Or, of course, if you do have a YouTube account, you can use the live chat feature. We do read those. Just know that they are public. So if you put something in there, the world's going to see. So don't be weird about it. Today on, can you do this?
Yeah.
I don't know how. Every time I have the buttons and I don't know how to do it. Today, guys, we are actually kicking off our Cross-Selling Symposium. That was really good.
Thank you.
We started doing the Cross-Selling Symposium about it was back in the days whenever it was me. And for those of our longtime listeners, Mike Gatorna, him and I started the cafe together back in 2016. But this was one that we used to do, and it's basically we took an entire week, took a product a day per week, and did an entire like hour-long training on how to sell that product, why to sell that product, transitional phrases, things like that. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do this time to kind of shake it up, because we haven't done this in the past couple years.
Right,
We've kind of taken a break from the symposium. What we're going to do now is just over the next probably 5 weeks, we're going to be having a couple of different segments. One segment's going to be what you should be doing, AEP prep, what do we know, industry updates. The second segment's going to be about that product. Still keeping it within 30 minutes, still keeping it close. But I will say this. I think a lot of people are basically going to be sick and tired or are sick and tired of me talking about ancillary products. I won't shut up about it because, and I put a slide on here somewhere. It says, girl, we get it. I will say this, if not now, then when?
I feel like if an agent truly wanted to get across, like, girl, we get it. Oh my gosh, shut up. Like, then just start selling the product.
Then start doing it.
Just sell the product. We'll shut up if we just see the product be sold.
Well, here's the thing, right? And I'm trying to think about, like, I've been talking about cross-selling products. Like, again, I've been in the industry since 2013. This is not a conversation that started in 2013. This is a conversation that's literally been decades of why aren't people cross-selling.
She's been talking about ancillary since I got into high school.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not talking about how young you are and how mature I am because my heart can't handle it. We are going to say, look at the world that we're in right now, right? If you're telling me that the government and CMS, what they're doing to Medicare Advantage and PDP companies, there's like 2 PDP carriers that are paying commissions right now.
Currently, as of today.
As of like right now. There are Medicare Advantage plans coming out the wazoo, not just during AEP, but again, UHC. If the giant in the industry can get away with making some PPO plans non-commissionable, they're not going to be they're not the first to do it. They are the biggest. They're not going to be the last. Yeah. You're telling me that you are okay with leading the majority of your lifestyle, the majority of your income in the hands of CMS and in the hands of these carriers who are drowning in administrative costs and cuts to Medicare. Costs to Medicare funding. That's misleading. Let me start over. So my name is Lily Richardson. Welcome to the Medicare. If you are okay with leaving your commissions, your lifestyle, your money, your bank account in something that you have no control over, I don't know how to help you.
Yeah. As someone part of going through, so I have like a minor in economics, and part of that is talking about all of the different ways that ebb and flows. Like the number one thing that they're like, if you don't understand anything at all, understand this is like you don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially one that you don't have complete control over. No. Like if something changes so drastically and you lose everything, like that should almost be like your kind of doomsday preparation. It's like, if I count on X percentage of my income coming from this revenue source, if that were to disappear, what would happen? Right. And if you don't have an answer for that, then tune in for the next 20 minutes or so and we'll give you some answers on how to fix that.
It's truly, so there's 2 reasons. Let's stick the 2 reasons why this is more important than it is than ever. Let's stick on the commissions for right now. Yeah. It's truly
that one.
Yeah, this one. Your bank account will need it. Yes. Again, I made these slides. I don't know what they say. And I'm putting you in charge of them who also don't know what they say.
At least it wasn't in French. So that's a good start.
Next time. Truly, it is. We've talked about the income potential of ancillary products, right? And we've talked about how when it comes to, so let's just take away like what's the industry looking right now?
Okay.
Tomorrow we can be told that let's start with PDP, right? So with PDP, if you right now a ton of our clients, what the best thing that could have happened last year for PDP, knowing about the market disruptions, knowing that PDPs were on the chopping block, knowing that the majority of disruption was being caused because of the IRA and PDPs. The best thing that could have happened last year still sucked.
Yeah.
But it was that WellCare remained super competitive.
Yeah. Hyper competitive, non-paying, $0 premium, the whole 9 yards for the most part.
No commissions, no renewals. It sounds completely backwards that I think that is the best thing that could have happened to us.
Yeah.
However, PDPs are going to be your lowest source of income on a per app basis.
Right.
We did not have to spend. I got real passionate.
No, please
serious.
continue.
We-
I'm crying with how passionate you are.
Exactly, Pam. Pam's doing the 1-2 punch. She's texting and messaging. Pam, I love it. She says we've never had complete control over commissions. So when I'm saying why is it the best thing that WellCare didn't go crazy, they didn't go belly up last year, they didn't just completely eliminate their plan or whatever. We didn't spend our entire AEP rewriting dollars for double-digit commissions.
Yeah.
We didn't spend our time, energy, effort, valuable appointment time chasing PDP business. Yeah, we lost a lot. I'm looking at our numbers. Carriers and agents lost a lot of money on renewals when it came to WellCare.
100%.
However, if you ran your AEP appropriately the way that we recommended, you made way more dollars by going out and getting new business than you did rewriting that PDP. You would have lost more money rewriting all that WellCare business versus going out and getting new clients and writing new business. And we saw agents on both sides of that spectrum. So we are still as agents in an era where we are having to do some revenue recovery, because that loss of income, it hurts.
Yeah, and for like real world example, there's a member of the cafe group, Don, who had put in one of the messages recently. He said that last year when they stopped renewals, they had lost $28,000 in renewals in a snap. And
it sounds really counterintuitive for me to say thank God that they didn't go crazy, because $28,000, that hurts everybody. That hurts anybody.
Yep.
We are still in a state of revenue recovery. And guys, we're looking at going into this AEP. It's going to be just as disruptive as it was last year. George Dipple, head of DEFT, made some comments earlier in the year that he thought that what we saw last year was equivalent to a earthquake.
Okay.
And he said for the years following, just like an earthquake, you get aftershocks, and they kind of lessen and lessen and lessen. He then corrected himself. He said at the beginning of this year. Recently, he corrected himself and said, no, we're getting another earthquake.
We got the
this isn't an aftershock.
We got the pre-shock to the earthquake, and we haven't even seen the biggest part of it yet.
And guys, last year, WellCare was still the number one prescription drug plan written. New business was still the number one, and they cut renewals and they cut commissions.
Yep.
If you are not a little nervous, in a positive way, be nervous. Because we have solutions.
Yeah,
when you're scared and don't know what to do next, that's a problem.
Yep.
Be scared, but know what to do next. If you are not looking for a way to replace the revenue, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
Honestly.
And it can't be that much later, or else then you're being forced the hand instead of being trying to figure out your hand. If you wait too much longer and you don't have these other avenues of income, you just will. Well, I have to make this decision instead of giving yourself the opportunity to be able to make the decision for yourself.
Yeah, that's such a good way of saying it. The best time to make a change is when you don't have to make a change. We're past that.
Correct.
We are past the luxury of change we're now into. If you want to stay in this industry, you're going to have to find alternative revenue sources, and ancillary is a huge part of that.
And I think we see a lot of it. Ancillary is the main focus here, but I think we've seen a little bit over the last couple years in that people had to start making changes on how they did enrollments. We had to record calls. We had to be comfortable with doing visual. You guys remember the whole COVID era that happened not that far long ago, but feels like it was so long ago because of how much change has happened in our industry.
Yes.
Like we've had to make changes, and those were instances where we did not have a choice. You are now really at that butt end and starting to not have a choice anymore. And like you said, don't really have a choice anymore. Like you guys, first and foremost, pat yourself on the back. You guys are taking the time out of your day to find ways and solutions for your business and are tackling that right now. So you guys are in a lot better case than a lot of other people. So maybe bring those friends. There's probably like 2 people you thought of as soon as I said that, like, oh yeah, they're screwed. Maybe you should invite them to the cafe next week.
That was a cute laugh.
And but they're all of that. Like you guys, like there has to be decisions. There has to be action now. You can't just keep saying, oh, well, I will get to it. I feel like that's one of the most common things that I hear is like, oh yeah, it sounds great. I would love to implement that.
My favorite is I need to do that. I need to get on that. Like we no longer have the luxury of planning even.
You
like we're
need to
there.
mean it is kind of what I need from you. So
do it in the words of Shia LaBeouf.
Do it.
Do it. So Pam brought up a really great point. Pam, thank you. I love it when you're on. She says, we lost the part-time person income with the WellCare PDP alone. Again, I know Pam had a huge book because a lot of her stuff is on the MedSup side. Yep. We still have to service our MedSup business. So getting the new business on top of that and serving the current client is a real struggle. So that's why exactly what we're talking about as far as cross-selling goes, because you can't sell 2 Medicare Advantage on somebody. You can't sell 2 PDPs on somebody. The cost of Medicare supplement plans are rising, and like we're having to adjust to what does servicing a MedSup client look like. Yeah. That's why a lot of times we're talking about at these appointments, whenever you're having your annual reviews with them, maybe they're not changing. Right. Maybe you're working leads that they're already on an MAPD or you can't really help them. That's a big one. We actually have a person, Gio, in office that he writes business on the side, and that's what he does. A lot of them, when he has a lead, they already have a Medicare Advantage. They already have a MedSup that's the right for them.
Throw that out the window.
Gets the cancer, gets the hip, gets on there, so that come AEP, they're calling him because he's helping them. Yeah. So that's the point of this. When we're talking about somebody, like, look what's on the scope of appointment. Yep. Hospital indemnity plans, dental, vision, hearing plans. It says the one in Medicare Center says other health products, which would include cancer insurance in some cases. So making sure that you can have a PDP review, you can have a MedSup review, and during that appointment, you have the ability to cross-sell a Medicare or a cancer insurance policy or a hospital indemnity plan. If it feels uncomfortable for you in your appointment process, if you're like, if I sell the MedSup or the Medicare Advantage plan, I don't have time to do more products. I don't want to come across as like just trying to push product. Then that tells me my first question I'm going to ask is, what does your appointment process look like?
What's the sales process?
Because your appointment process in the fact finding, even if they're a client that you've worked with for 10 years, you should still be fact finding every appointment with them. There are questions to ask, updates to get, things to talk about.
100%.
So making sure if you're not comfortable with cross-selling, it's because your fact finding process isn't conducive. Isn't conducive. Can you believe I talk for a living? Isn't conducive. I've also gotten really good at saying the word. What's the word I never say? Tumultuous. I've gotten really good at the word tumultuous. I've worked really hard. I've been practicing my words. I practice every day. So that's a little bit about why your bank account desperately needs you to start looking at that. Some people are going to say, yes, dollar signs, I'm in. But there's a whole nother reason that I think a lot of us need to really focus on.
Yeah. And before we kind of touch on that one, I'd love to know. So Pam, you mentioned like it's taking action, and that's the hard part on our end. I would, like, an exercise that I've been working through with some of the agents is kind of trying to undercover what is actually the part that is kind of that barrier of entry. So like, what does taking action, like what part of that is actually kind of that barrier for you? Kind of go many layers why into what is causing that. So what if like you had an appointment later today, and I'm sure you do, what is keeping you from bringing up ancillary in that appointment today? And like, feel free to throw that in there, and I can either call you after this or, whatever way you want to tackle. Because I think trying to figure out exactly what is the root cause of some of those, like why is that difficult?
I think there's a lot of it is it's more uncomfortable to bring it up than uncomfortable to not bring it up.
Yeah.
And we need to shift the mindset to you should be very uncomfortable with not talking about ancillary products.
100%.
One, because your income depends on it. I mean, if that doesn't make you uncomfortable, then maybe the second part will, which is their health care. The way that they receive healthcare, their access to healthcare, their willingness to seek out healthcare
100%.
is reliant on the coverage that we recommend. Now, Terry asked a really great question. Terry, longtime listener, longtime talker, we love Terry, says, what do you mean about non-renewals for the client? So just keep that in mind, Terry. Not a lot of these plans, one plan, WellCare, which was the big one, came out when they said non-commissionable, they actually killed off renewals, meaning that anybody who still had that WellCare plan, you were no longer, not only were you not getting paid on new business, you were not getting paid on existing business either. Other carriers have not done that yet. Most carriers who have gone non-commissionable are still paying commissions on what they had previously paid commissions on. They're just not paying it on new business going forward. However, what did we just tell the industry we're okay with?
Yeah.
If the plan's good enough, we're still going to write it, and we're okay not getting compensated for it. So that's what it is right now. Right now, WellCare is the only one that doesn't pay on isn't paying renewals. I don't know that it'll be the last.
As a business person, I would see all of the data from last year and say, hey, well, this carrier decided to say, remove you from the sales process. And then they had arguably more sales than they have in the past X amount of years. As a business person, I'm going to say, well, then why would I pay anyway?
Why am I paying?
As an agent resource person, I'm saying, hey, well, there's a huge value to our agents that need to be paid. But as a business person, which is arguably how these people are going to be thinking to some degree or another, is why would I pay for something that obviously you guys are outlining as I don't need to be paid for it?
Pam, I really appreciate your transparency.
Yes.
She said, I feel that some ancillary is unnecessary or an oversell with some Medicare supplements. Some of that, Pam, I would absolutely agree with. I would say the only one that I actually agree that with would be hospital indemnity. And I say that, but I still would present hospital indemnity to a person on a Medicare supplement. If you turn in over the next 5 weeks to look at, we're going to take a deep dive into every product: home health care, hospital indemnity, final expense, dental, vision, hearing, cancer insurance.
Yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into each one of those, and when is it appropriate for a client to have versus when is it like, no, really a client probably is not going to benefit from that plan. And there might be some things that I know Carrie says absolutely never do a Medicare supplement with a hospital indemnity. I say sometimes it is worth at least presenting that to them.
I think that's the big difference. I actually had a conversation from some of the cafes, and she's a viewer. She was challenging herself by changing the mindset of, I am not selling the additional product. I'm just making it known to the client that I offer it.
Yeah, it's I'm letting you know what your risks are based on what you have currently.
Yeah.
If this happens, this will be the result.
100%.
And I'm helping you determine how comfortable with that risk you are. Yeah. It does not mean you're going to buy a policy to cover that risk. It is going to be that you're educated on what your risk is.
I would want your insight on this. So do you feel like agents now more so than ever are less just like insurance advisors, but almost like risk management? We talked about how commissions are at any given point can be changed. Like, we're also going to see plans throughout this next year get changed. So do you feel as though the role of an agent is becoming more like a sign in how to mitigate some of this risk that comes with it, and then offering the products as a byproduct to that? Or what would you say?
I think that's always been on paper what an agent's job is supposed to be, is to help people understand their risks and try to help them alleviate or at least understand the risk. We're not unique to that. If you look at any type of insurance, that's what it is. If you look at a person who's an HR representative and they're trying to tell you how your insurance benefits work, they're not helping you. They're helping you understand where you're currently at, and more importantly, understand what's not covered. Yeah. And unfortunately for us in the Medicare industry, we've not, and I hate to point fingers. I'm sounding like I'm placing blame on agents. It's just what has happened with the rise of resources of education is that Medicare has become a bit of a commodity. You are going to get on Medicare. It's overwhelmingly and majority of the times better coverage than group coverage, better than COBRA, better in a lot of cases. So we're no longer, as insurance agents, not having to do much more other than this formula of let me teach you Medicare and then I'll get you on a MedSup or Medicare Advantage plan. It's this formula that we've created because it's worked for so long, but today's healthcare has outgrown that formula. The needs of our seniors have outgrown that formula, and the needs of owning a business has outgrown that formula because it's worked for years, and unfortunately, it's really limited the growth of insurance agents. And so, and like Pam says, she's like, we're talking a little bit about the PDP stuff, and then I want to get into the client's needs for ancillary. We are not okay with not getting paid, but what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to charge the client? This opens up some really questions about like ethics when it comes to an insurance agent, right? I am still under the opinion, I am not upset. I don't blame. I think agents who wrote the WellCare products, I think did it because it was the right plan for that consumer. And I commend that. Insurance agents just a couple of years ago was on the chopping block of saying we were unethical. There's still lawsuits going on about agent steering plans to for things that pay. So how are we going to say no, agents always do right by the clients? We cannot be steered. We do not sell because of commissions, but then stop selling PDP plans because of commissions when those commissions are minuscule. They're small compared to a Medicare Advantage plan. So we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. We can't say we're going to do what's best for the clients regardless of commissions and then stop servicing PDPs because of the lack of commissions. So we can't do that, Pam. We can't charge a service. If you are getting commissions on some of your products, then you cannot charge a service fee for other products. So the solution to like, how do we do this? How do we still be good agents, still manage our clients, still provide the best advice for our clients and get paid? Ancillary. Ancillary is how you do that. Because you're not paying you're not paying for lead sources, you're not paying for client acquisition. When you write ancillary products on top of an already existing client, that's pure profit. Other than the fact that's your time. So it's where the real money maker is. William says, I think non-commissionable business, an example of carriers where they got away with it and kept writing the business is when some carriers stopped paying commissions on Part B rebate plans. Again, it's all about like what are we going to allow the carriers to get away with? Now, keep in mind, guys, it is cheaper for a carrier to have an insurance agent write the policy than it is for them to do it internally. That sounds backwards because when they do it internally, they're not paying commissions, and commissions are incredibly expensive. And commissions don't count towards the allotted amount that they have to pay in Medicare benefits. That's on top of that. That's pure profit that you're eating at when they pay commissions. However, insurance agents show our value when it comes to the retention of that business and the servicing of that business. So carriers understand that it is cheaper to have for them, not up front, but it is cheaper for them to have agents in the sales process versus doing it directly. So I'm not thinking carriers are going to do mass exodus and kill off other insurance agents because financially that does not make sense. I do think we need to find alternative revenue sources.
100%.
In the quick 5 minutes that we have left, talking a little bit about why consumers, we're going to talk about each plan specifically. Why does a person on Medicare supplement need a cancer plan? Why does a person on Medicare Advantage plan needs a cancer plan? Same thing with hospital indemnity, final expense, home health care, and dental vision hearing. So I don't want to get into like the specifics of why consumers benefits need that, but I will tell you this. The first Medicare supplement plan was a Mutual of Omaha plan written about 68 years ago. It was right when Medicare became a thing. The first MedSup policy ever written was Mutual of Omaha. If you look at, of course, Medicare supplements have changed. They had the Standardization Act in 2010. Like Medicare supplements have changed a little bit, but does our health care look the same as it did 68 years ago? Does our health care look the same as it did 15 years ago when the Standardization Act went through? Healthcare, the system, the cost, the paying, everything is dramatically different. Why are we offering the same thing we offered 68 years ago to help overcome the rising cost of insurance and the rising cost of coverage? So, and again, on a Medicare supplement, you can say, well, they pay their premiums, then they don't have to worry about those other bills. A couple things you have to worry about. Number one, it might come a day where they can't afford that premium. So making sure that you're able to underwrite them in other products while they're still healthy. That's one argument. More importantly, the argument that it is, if you don't think these products will help somebody on a Medicare supplement plan, then you desperately need to come to the symposium and see exactly how these products affect your clients.
100%. I mean, and having just some of the experiences that I've had personally, seeing different things people in our office have seen the difference between. I mean, we are, for a lack of a better term, fortunate to have both sides of the same coin and be able to see exactly which one is better.
Right.
Yeah, I think through all of this, and it's a conversation that I've actually even mentioned on the cafe in the past, it's like, you're not a bad agent because you haven't talked about these, but you might be an insensitive agent if you don't start talking about them.
Yeah.
And for more reasons than just the one. Like, if you want to be in this business, show that you want to be in that by adapting, by doing things differently. And if you want to be taking care of your clients, they need to know about everything. You need to be educating, you need to be advising them on the options that they have available to them. And then the rest of it is all the reasons why.
I think, I truly believe this. I believe it's not in the not so distant future. Lack of cross-selling or advising on additional products will be an E&O claim.
Yeah.
Because right now, and I said this at Seven Figure Summit, one thing that I got a rogue hair somewhere on my face and it's bothering me. Could you imagine going into a doctor's office? And it happens. This does happen. Going to a doctor's office. You go into a doctor's office because you have, you've been having rogue hair.
Rogue hair.
That wasn't even attached. Okay, so you go to the doctor's office because you've been having a series of headaches, right?
Okay.
You're just like, I just need to get this figured out.
Check mark.
While you're at the doctor's office, you sit there, you went to the doctor's office, they know you're in there because of their headaches. However, while you're in there, they may notice that, hey, I'm noticing like your skin color may not be looking right. You're sounding like you're having some digestional issues, but you're not there. You know, this is the symptoms that you're having are probably pretty close to some symptoms of a form of cancer,
right,
or some symptoms of some sort of larger issue.
Right.
But you're not there to talk to me about that.
Right.
You're there to talk to me about your headaches.
Right.
Maybe your headaches are related to the bigger issue, but you didn't ask me about a bigger issue.
Right.
You asked me about your headaches.
Yeah.
If that later on, that person, something happens to them,
Yep.
and they no longer can seek the treatment that they need because they were diagnosed too late with something,
Yep.
that doctor is getting the crap suit out of them.
Very much so.
Because it was their job. I came into you with an issue. It was your job as my doctor, as my health advisor, to look at my situation holistically and give me an holistic diagnosis. Yeah. It is why when you have something wrong with you, you don't immediately go to your cardiologist.
Right.
You don't
Your
immediately
specialist,
go to your orthopedic. You don't immediately go to your physical therapist. You go to somebody who looks at you holistically that can then diagnose you and help you figure out what your next steps are.
Yeah.
As insurance agents, we can't just be Medicare people. We have to look at their entire healthcare options and healthcare systems and helping them finance their entirety of the healthcare. If we don't start incorporating that into our sales pitch, I genuinely think we're going to start looking at E&O claims.
I think it makes sense. Like, and at some point, we're getting more and more data about everything that's going on, and obviously there is a lack or a lacking in ancillary cross-selling and all that type of stuff. So we're seeing a lot of the data now without the ancillary. I would tend to agree with you that if you're sending someone down the wrong path, you know, whether that is unintentionally or intentionally, there are still charges that you can get.
Yes.
You know, the one is a little bit more serious than the other, but there's still charges that you can be held responsible for if you withheld that information.
I'm just wondering if we are saying that we're advisors. We're talking about Medicare. We as insurance agents, I am as guilty. I am pointing the finger at myself. So much more comfortable with talking about where Medicare covers, versus where Medicare doesn't cover.
Yeah.
And guess what your clients care about?
Yeah.
They care about when dollars are leaving their wallets and they're trying to access healthcare. That's when Medicare stops.
Yeah.
So we have designed our appointments and our education to focus around what Medicare covers, and that doesn't matter because it doesn't affect them.
And you mentioned it earlier, and it's because that's what worked in the past.
That's
That
what- it
that's
was a formula that
where
worked.
that's where we were. We're just not there anymore.
Yes.
So
Guys, we are over time today, but again, this is basically a big pitch for understanding the next few weeks, 5 weeks probably. I'm looking at Sadie, our producer, will be covering these products and how they work with Medicare supplements, how they work with Medicare Advantage plans, the compliance around it, how to pitch it, how to incorporate in your sales process, and then probably we'll even get into like our carriers that we prefer. We represent like 80 something carriers, and each one of them has 70 different products that they're going to pitch. It gets really confusing out there. We'll talk about the products that we recommend and why.
yeah, I would say and encourage agents too that as you join over the next 5 weeks to start thinking about client situations that you have from this point forward and bring those questions to each of those days. So whether it's home health care, dental, vision, hearing, final expense, cancer insurance, or hospital indemnity, have real cases in your own back pocket. That way you can remember it even better when you say, oh, let me ask this question. I now have a real world experience that I can now draw on to help maybe drive home. I think some of that is part of why maybe we don't hold true to it as well, is because we always think in like these hypotheticals or these created instances. But the truth is of the nature is you guys have a lot of these experiences and instances. It just kind of gets lost in the translation. So bring a couple of those client cases that if you have appointments the rest of this week, I'm sure you could grab a couple of those and bring them each week and find when in those cases, which of these products would have been a good option.
Pam, call our office. If you're asking what carrier might be the best, we have a couple recommendations. One contract gets you a bunch of carriers. My top ones tend to be Aetna, Mutual, GTL, quite frankly. So can talk to you about which one might be best. But that's one contract, multiple products, and the products are more times than not really, really good products.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, guys. So until next time, we'll see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. for our first week of our Cross-Selling Symposium. And so until next time, guys, have fun.
Make money and give impeccable service.
Thanks,
See you guys.
y'all.